Hi everyone, I'm Carly and thanks for tuning into Kicking It with Carly. So for this episode, I'm going to share how my first ever wrestling practice went. So after we found out that I didn't make the volleyball team due to my short size, I decided, hey, I'm really going to do it. I'm going to go out for the all guys wrestling team. And luckily enough, there was a couple of weeks before the official wrestling season started. So my parents thought, hey, maybe it's a good idea for you to go to a couple off-season practices to see if it's something you really want to pursue, which makes total sense. And luckily enough, my older brother was a wrestler and he knew about these practices being held at this place called The Cooler. And if you hear The Cooler and you're thinking hockey, ice skating, you're at the right place. It was literally a roller rink. But inside that facility, there was a small gym and there was a fence in that gym. And on the other side of it was a wrestling mat where they would host practices in the off season. And so we're going up to the facility. I've got my volleyball shorts on. I've got my basketball shorts on. I've got this icky t-shirt I'm wearing. I've got my wrestling shoes in hand. We go inside. We go over to the gym and we see this coach standing outside of the fence. And we explain to him, hey, Carly's thinking of maybe joining the wrestling team. Would you be okay if she joined a couple of your practices to see if it's something she really wants to do? And he was super eager, super excited. I was like, yeah, of course, the more the merrier. Hop onto the mat, lace up your shoes, and we'll begin in a couple of minutes. It was really cool how right off the bat he was very excited and very eager to have me be there. He was a former Olympic wrestler. He really knew his technique and he was just a well-rounded, great human and still is a fabulous human being. And so you can see through the fence, and as we're going through it, all the wrestlers that are on the mat, there's about 10 of them, are just staring at my brother and I. And it was so quiet in there and you could just see this confused look on their faces. And as I'm looking around, I recognize a couple of them because they were teammates of my brother. So we sit down, we lace up our shoes, and a couple minutes later, the coach comes out and it's like, all right, everybody to the far wall. We're going to start doing some sprints, some stretches, and then we're going to move on to the wrestling portion. So we do the sprints, we do the stretches, and he's teaching us about this move called shooting. And if you're not a wrestler, what shooting is it's a very common wrestling move. Picture you're doing a lunge and you're reaching for something, and in our case, you'd be grabbing a foot or an ankle to lead on to many different wrestling moves like a trip or a tilt, things like that. A lot of wrestlers use this very frequently, and it wasn't necessarily my go-to, but it was still very important to learn. And so as we're doing these shots across the mat, my knees are just hitting the mat over and over again, and I haven't developed calluses yet. And so as I'm hitting this solid inch mat, I am taking chunks of my skin off, and it hurt so bad. But thank goodness I had a ton of adrenaline in my system because it probably would have hurt way more. But I knew I couldn't stop because that was the expectation. Anything that the guys do, I had to be able to do. So I wasn't going to say, I don't want to do this move, my knees aren't liking this, or whatever else. I had to do it. So I sucked it up and I kept doing those shots across the mat. Right leg, left leg. We went back and forth about probably a dozen times. And then he said, all right, we're going to move on to partners. So you're going to try it on real people. And as soon as he announced that, he did not miss a beat. He pointed over at this one guy and was like, so-and-so, you're Carly's partner. And if he ever sees this video, I want him to know how grateful I am that he gave me my first wrestling partner. It was never easy being the girl wrestler in any regard. But I'll tell you that the most cringeworthy moment of wrestling was not the hundreds of burpees, the hundreds of push-ups, the crazy sprints we would have to do, the gross sweat all over the mats. That was not the worst part. The worst part was Imagine this. You're a kid and you're going to gym class and you're doing dodgeball, kickball, or something. Imagine getting chosen last to be on a team or someone's partner every single day. Because that's what it was for me. No one wanted to be partners with the girl. And I get that. I understood it. But that didn't make it hurt any less. And I became friends with these guys. We were buddies. We knew each other. We hung out at school, after school. But I was still the girl wrestler. And so for that first practice, that was something I didn't have to worry about. I was already trying to figure out what was going on, and with him taking that off my plate, I'm so, so grateful. And he could not have given me a better partner. The partner he gave me was actually the coach's son over at another school. He later won state in his own weight class and was just an absolutely phenomenal wrestler. He was very patient. He was very kind. I know I stepped on his toes way too many times probably, but he never got upset. He never lost patience. He really wanted to help me and coach me up, and it was a great experience to have had him as a partner. And I know a couple people are probably watching this and was like, hey, your brother was with you, why wasn't he your partner? It was because my brother was 75 pounds heavier than me. So if he was my partner, that would be a safety concern. But also in matches, you're going to be going up against people about your own size. So you want to try moves that are going to be around the same type of practice style, same weight class that you're going to be participating in to see if it really works for you. So that's why my brother wasn't my wrestling partner. And so we do these shots back and forth, right leg, left leg, partial takedown, where you don't completely take them down the mat, full takedown. We do this for about an hour. And once that practice was done, we're making our way outside. My adrenaline is wearing off. And I finally stopped hitting my knees against that mat. We're walking to the car and my knees are just bleeding. I have scraped off so much skin doing those shots over and over and over again. I was in so much pain, but I had made it through my first wrestling practice. I had survived my first wrestling practice. And it was funny because a couple hours later, one of the sisters of the guys that was at that practice was in my grade. And I didn't know her very well, but I got a text from her going, so I hear you were at the wrestling practice at the Cooler, ? And I told her yes, that I was there. And she didn't miss a beat and was like, so are you joining the wrestling team? And that's, I think, when it officially kind of struck, going, people are already asking questions. And I responded back and I told her, yes, I am planning on joining the team. People were starting to know and starting to hear things, and that kind of led me onto the rest of my journey. Was that first practice, and I'm so glad I got to share that experience with you guys and share not only my stories from wrestling, but also the many unique experiences that I've got to have thus far in life. So thank you so much for joining me, and I am excited to keep this story going with you all. Talk to you all soon. Bye.